Hey everybody, Rick Bassman here with Talking Tough. It's sun is about to go down here on Maui, and the weather is really weird. There's a giant rainbow just outside my window. Otherwise, it is gray and windy, and the best word I could use to describe it is eerie. It's kind of got that like end of days vibe going, which is perfect for the show. It just sets the tone. Our guest today, he is all over the media. I know he's fielding media requests daily from around the world. So we are very lucky to have him on today. I don't know him. I'll save for a few minutes talking to him before we just hit live. But I'm a fan of his work. Now, a lot of listeners might find that surprising because I'm not the most conservative guy out there. This gentleman says what he does appeals to a conservative crowd. He's a billionaire. He's very successful. He's also 6'8" and 300 pounds. So he could be a giant pro wrestler we've had on the show, but he's not that. He's a very successful businessman. And I he's accolades up because who am I to argue with him? So I think his crowd is everybody, but we'll find out. We'll talk about it. His name is Robert. I'll give the introduction in a second. He's a founder and CEO of Vivos. Vivos is far and away the global leader. And I don't know if I have the title of the business right. Robert will correct me, I'm sure, if I'm wrong. We've all heard of the prepper movement. Now, that's got a funny connotation. Again, I'm a fan and I'm a supporter. But what it means basically is you're going out of your way to prepare for the impending apocalypse. This guy has made an art form out of taking this business to to a standard worthy of a billionaire such as himself. He has some of the wealthiest clients on earth, some very high profile. I don't know who they are. I'm sure we can't talk about that. But the guy who is far ahead of the curve on preparing for the end of the world more than anybody else, my guest today, right here on Talking Tough, Mr. Robert Vicino.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Robert, really glad to have you, man. And I wanted to speed through that introduction and get you on air here. We had some pretty cool conversation before we got started. I think I forgot to tell you that we weren't already going, so I felt like we were into a good show already. But we might have to go back a little bit. We'll have some fun. First of all, where are you coming from today? Are you in an underground bunker secured away somewhere?
No, unfortunately not. I'm in California where we will never build a bunker because this is point ground zero and for many events, including natural. So, but I do live in Southern California. I live in a town called Del Mar, right on the coast, right next to the racetrack, overlooking the ocean and the waves. Just, God's country. Temperatures in the last week have been 75, 80 degrees, clear blue. So it's hard to leave here, and I won't leave here until it's time. But I'll know when it's time because I know I can hear the rumblings and read the tea leaves, and I have many means of getting there, and I will. To there being whatever.
I figured you'd be more sensitive to that than anybody else. You would know. And I want to ask you for the clues because I want to know, and I'm sure everybody watching and listening to the show is going to want to know what the clues are. But I want to ask you this first. I want to make sure I describe your business correctly. You meet somebody in an elevator that doesn't know anything about your business. How do you fill them in by the time the doors open? What is Vivos X?
Well, I'll give you my elevator spiel. You ready?
Absolutely.
We're going down. We're going down. Now the question is, how far down are we going? And when would you like to get off? Would you like to get off on the floor that you will survive? Or would you like to go lower to where it's too late, you're not going to survive? And so in that regard, I offer people a life assurance solution. It's something that is in the form of real estate. You own a bunker or a share of a bunker that with other people. But it is something that you can go to at any time when you believe, when your gut tells you it's time. When your alarms go off, or you're listening closely to the news, or you're seeing soldiers in the street, or you're seeing anarchy down the road, or you just know how to read the tea leaves. But, I always say it's better to have a solution to bug out to. At least you got a bug out. than no solution at all. And it's better to go, even if it's a false alarm, than have no alarm at all. So, you know, I was on Fox News a few years ago with one of their prime. Hey, you got to get that guy. With some of their prime, with one of their prime time hosts who very, very popular. And she goes, well, how will we know when it's time to go? I said, you're going to have to use your own judgment and listen to your own newscasts. Open your window, listen to what's going on out on the streets. See you're going to have to read in between the lines, because media is not going to tell you. But when you feel it's time to go, it's only a question of what are you willing to give up? And she goes, what do you mean? I said, well, are you willing to take the kids out of school, pack the SUV, or buy a ticket on an airplane and head out of town, get some time off from work, and head to your designated shelter, be it a half a day or a day away, before things make it impossible, on a what if basis? Or do you want to wait and see? I want to wait and see when it's coming out of the sky, or when the nuke has already gone off. You know, I said, you know, everything is a risk, and you have to be part of the equation. So the question is, what are you willing to give up? I mean, giving up a few days' work, giving up a little bit of money to go visit your shelter. If you did it a dozen times in your lifetime, good for you. At least it's better than never getting there, because you never took it serious. So, you know, that's the only key to Vivos. And we have people coming from all over the world to get to shelters in America, in Europe. You know, it knows no boundaries. And right now I have solicitations from Ecuador, Peru, UAE, Saudi Arabia, and they're willing to pay anything to have
to build the facilities you're talking about.
Build facilities for the sheiks and the royals and so on.
Okay.
Which Robert, I'm a little hesitant to do, but
I can understand why. Allow me to interrupt. I'm sorry. I want to frame something for a moment, only because I've read a bunch on you. So we're talking about the person can take work off and go to their bunker. Now, most people have seen an episode of, you know, Walking Dead or whatever it is. So I think a lot of people might be thinking, bunker? Oh, yeah. Somebody's got like a wooden hatch underneath the dirt. They open it, they go down there, they got some food. This is not what we're talking about. Can you describe like the vastness, the scope of Vivos? These are underground luxury cities, are they not?
Yes, they are. But let me refer to the ones you've started with. Be it a wooden hatch or a trap door, or it's under a rock or whatever. It means typically it's a family backyard shelter. And there's plenty of companies out there selling them. What they don't tell you is you're not going to survive. You cannot survive these type of events long term. You're not going to be able to secure them, even if you have a family of wrestlers, from let's say, anarchists and desperados, and what would be the worst thing? Those that are ready to have you for lunch.
Sure.
What's that called? Cannibalism.
Cannibals.
Yeah. Check the Donner Pottery in the Tahoe, California Pass there, the Donner Pass.
I know this. One of my favorite books. I know it well. Yes.
And then there was the movie. There was the movie Survive down in South America in the Andes.
In Peru, the Andes. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, from a European soccer team that crashed in a jet, and some of them survived, and they tried every way to, you know, to try and get help. They couldn't. Nobody came for them, and they ate what they could, and then they finally ate each other.
That's
so
right.
You know, it's a very gross thing to discuss, but horrific. But it's truth. It's reality. People will resort to cannibalism when they get hungry enough. And when
let me ask you, I want to ask you a selfish question, and I know your answer is going to make me feel horrible, but I have to ask. So I live on Maui. I'm up on top of this big hill in a forest. I have one neighbor, good friend, 100 yards apart from me. We all have our, our our handguns and our shotguns and whatnot. I have a few hundred rounds. I'm not ready to go to war, certainly. I've got my pack of pit bulls. You heard them before. We've got good lines of sight all around us. Are we sitting ducks up here? Do we have any chance or better chance than anybody else?
As long as you're stealthy and you can control your boundaries, your perimeter, and you know the methods they're going to approach, just like any other military would, and you plan it out, and you might have to have some anti-measures in place, everything from barbed wire to razor wire to whatever, booby traps. I hate to say it, but we're talking. There's two types. There's two stages of life. There's under the rule of law, which people won't do anything outrageous. You can pick up the phone and call the sheriff. But there's with no rule of law. And when there's no rule of law, it's game on. You are the law. You will have to do what it takes to survive and defend your family, your friend, and so on. So I would encourage you to get a pact with your neighbors and be sure they're on the same wavelength. Be sure they're like-minded. Be sure they're equally prepared with, guns, ammo, food, medicine, everything, so they're not eventually cannibalizing you.
Right, of course. Sure.
Share your resources and come up with a plan. But you're in a unique situation. Now, somebody in Los Angeles or Chicago, forget about it. Or is that a New Jersey expression? Forget
just
about
it. Share population base, I guess you're referring to.
Yeah, there's no way you're going to survive. We've all seen movies of disaster. I mean, New York is almost there now. It's and DC is a ghost town, and that's pre-event. So we can talk about the things that would cause you to go to shelter after, but the point about the wood hatch is you will not be able to defend it unless you're in a very, very remote area, because if you're in the hills or in the desert, they're going to trip over it. They're going to smell your cooking. They're going to hear your generator. They're going to find you. There was a movie called The Road that was very, very accurate in how it depicted.
Great. Cormac McCarthy. Great movie. Great book also. Yes.
The sequence of events. They will find you. They will flush you out, and they'll take what you got. And then what? You're back on the road. And they got what you got. And if it's peaceful, great. But, nothing, don't count on it being peaceful. People, the ugliest will come out.
Sure.
Those that aren't prepared are your biggest enemy.
The have-nots, I guess you would call them, I suppose.
Have-not. That's right. So what's the difference in Vivos? You want to hear that?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Please.
All right, I didn't cut you off, but it's time to give you a comparison. We don't build backyard bunkers that everybody in the neighborhood or at the end of the row or in the cul-de-sac knows. I was invited on Doomsday Preppers 3 seasons in a row, and we turned them down every year. And I never saw the show, but I did see the first commercial, and I said, "What? Look what they're doing to these people, making them look like idiots." So anyways, the same producer, a young gal, called every year and finally got me, and I said, "We're not interested in being on your show." And she goes, "Well, our show's nothing without you." I said, "Yeah, I know that. You've got a lot of wannabes, but we're not going to be on your show." And she goes, "Well, our producer would like to." So I said, "Okay, put him on." So 30 seconds later, he picks up, and I knew who he was, and I knew where he was. And so he says, "Robert, what do I got to do to get you on my show?" And I said, "Alan, I will never go on your show." And he said, "Why not?" And I said, "Because you make everybody out to be an idiot, toothless idiot." And he goes, "Well, I don't, but that's what the camera does, because it's what the camera sees." And I said, "No, it's that and a little creative editing, and voila, you've destroyed somebody's credibility. And you've also given away all of their secrets, their whatever they've prepared for. And people now know, oh, I know that guy. He's down the street. He lives at the end of the cul-de-sac. Oh, he's got that in his garage and in his basement. And I know where his hideout is in the woods. I walk by that all the time." So I said, "You know what, Alan? Not interested." I agree with you, Alan. I said, the people who go on your show are idiots. For 15 minutes of fame, they've given up their whole plan. And so,
not a good exchange. No. Wow.
and I said, so for that reason, you know, we're not one of the toothless idiots. We're extremely way above that. And so I said, but let me ask you a question, Alan. Are you sitting in your office right now? He said, yeah. I said, you see the building across the street? And he goes, yeah. I said, you see that window that looks a little different than all the others? And he goes, yeah. I said, Alan, we're watching you. And he goes, what? What are you doing? I said, we're watching you. He goes, what? Why? What? You know, I said, no, Alan, we're not. But I just wanted to get you at your own game. Have a good day. You know, I knew it was in New York. I knew there was a window. There's always a window. And there's always
sure. Now, that's fantastic. How many Vivos locations are there presently globally?
Well, I won't tell you how many locations. There's more than we publicize, but we currently have enough space for 10,000 people.
10,
we have another,
right.
Yeah, we have another facility coming online in the near future. It's 3 million square feet in the Midwest, near the Adirondacks.
I don't even have a concept of what 3 million square feet is. Is that the size of a Walmart? Is it bigger? What is it?
The Walmart is about 100,000, 150,000 square feet.
All right.
It's the size of Chicago O'Hare. It's the size of the biggest things you can imagine. It's huge. It's all fully paved with either concrete or asphalt. It's got 30-foot ceilings, 30 foot. So, and it's fully illuminated inside. We're adding all the life safety equipment from power generation to water supply, deep underground wells, air filtration, blast doors that can handle a nuclear blast from 10 miles away. It will be impenetrable. And it is going to be the largest shelter on Earth. But we're not yet releasing where and the name or anything. It's still got a few little details, but it will accommodate in itself 10,000 people. It's got
and this is a city. I mean, you're going to have, from what I've read at least, you're going to have movie theaters down there, gyms. Is that right?
Yeah, gyms, archery, shooting galleries. We even have a lake illuminated like the Disney whatever, you know, and we'll have a beach and rowboats, and you can go on your little rowboat love cruise down below. Hydroponics, aquaponics. We're going to grow food of all sorts. You know, the gestation down there will be perhaps indefinite. And so,
sorry, yes.
And so then what we're providing is everything to support and secure and save you. We're even thinking of bringing in some military, so they have place to store some of their heavy equipment for, I'm talking tanks, helicopters, Apaches, Sikorskys, things that if there were a major geological or Earth event, they want to protect them underground safely, and then bring them out, deploy them afterwards for the rebuild or the survival phase. And so there may be as much as 1 million square feet of government storage, which we've done the planning and the mapping. You wouldn't believe how many helicopters, tanks, trucks we can accommodate. And they bring them right through. The door is 20 feet wide and 30 feet tall.
Robert, I have so many questions, man. Let me fire off a few if you don't mind. So I understand that. I should join you. I wasn't prepared. See, look, I'm already not prepared. It's not all about money for you, I understand. Is that right? It's not only the wealthiest that can buy spaces.
It has nothing to do with the money. It has to do with a mission that I'm on, that I was given when I was 22, I think it was. Or 23. I had a company. I had 100 employees. I invented the inflatable industry, those big beer can cigarette packs you see around special events. I started that, got all the patents, put King Kong in the Empire State Building in 1983. as a big publicity event. It made Time magazine and so on. Shortly thereafter, I sold out. But I was inspired when I was doing that business. Actually, yeah, it was 1982. And what I got was a voice in my head that was crystal clear. I've never heard it since, but it was like the Holy Spirit speaking to me. And it was a female voice. And she said, Robert, you need to build deep underground bunkers for something that's coming our way, an extinction level event. I was very happy not to know that. I had no interest in any of this stuff. I was an entrepreneur, 24, 25. I had a Rolls Royce that I bought myself. I started with $500. So a few years later, I built this company up. I had a Rolls Royce. I had a biplane, 1941 Boeing Stearman that I flew to Alaska and back. I had a boat, and I had a house on the beach in La Jolla, California. I didn't need this crap. And yet it was like so profound and so persuasive that I kind of dropped what I was doing, which I was 100% focused. I couldn't hear or see anything but what I was doing as an entrepreneur. And told a few friends, got in a car, drove up into the mountains in Southern California, looking for a vacant gold mine or something that was already mined out that could be hardened and blast door, but big enough you could accommodate 1,000 people with hospitals, kitchen, cafeteria, all that. And I didn't know how to build it. I didn't know how, engineering wise, and I didn't know how to pay for it. And I said, I can't afford to do this. How am I going to pay for it? And at that time, what was popular was the gym, call it the gym model, like 24-hour fitness. You pay a fee, you get the right to go there. And so I was thinking, that could work here. And I even came up with the number, $10,000 per person. That was $82, $83. And shortly after that, I gave up. I said, you know what? It's crazy. I got to focus on what I'm doing. And in 1983, NASA announced that they found Nibiru, Planet X. It made the cover of the U.S. News and World Report in December of '83. It made the New York Times, the New York Post, and so on. It was real. And Ronald Reagan, president at the time, said, wait a minute. They said it would be here in 50 years. And Reagan knew the consequences of public alarm and said, we cannot let this out. We got to put it back in the bag. And so he wrote an executive order that no government employee or agency can ever talk about it again. And so they put it under the carpet, back in the bag. But it was already out. And what they found it with was what was it called? Infrared telescope, the IRAS, not telescope, satellite. And they had pretty good pictures of it and so on. It's been looked for and searched for since biblical times, since the Sumerian time, since Noah's time, since every time it's ever passed through our inner solar system. And so that was the reason I was inspired to do Vivos, thinking that's coming. Okay. One of the things the message said to me was, something's coming from somewhere else. It's coming our way, which means it's not here. It's not Trump. It's not Biden. It wasn't Little John, I call him Little Dong Long or whatever. And it was none of the above. But what was the most interesting is that the government started building deep underground military bunkers across.
We've all heard of this, but we all think it's a rumor. These things actually exist.
No, they actually exist. I can tell you they exist. I've had contact over the last, what have I been doing this, 13 years, from higher military insiders that say, Robert, you're absolutely right. We know what you're doing and we endorse what you're doing, because I'm the only guy, the only company providing an equivalent military grade shelter for the general public. Their shelters are just for themselves, just for,
for VIPs or whatever it may be, in their estimation. In their estimation.
Continuity of government with underground rail tram systems to get from Washington to Denver in 20 minutes, things like
Okay.
that.
Okay.
And so we
So
all know that. And I can tell you for a fact there is one under the Denver airport. There's one near Taos, New Mexico. But they're up and down the Rockies. And why did they choose that? Because it's high ground.
mhm.
Let me give you a little thing that everything I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to tell you everything, but I'm going to tell you enough to go research it on your own. Because otherwise, you're probably not going to appreciate it. There's a thing called the third secret of Fatima. Have you ever heard of it?
Third secret of Fatima. No, not.
Okay. So good education. In 1907 or '08, three little children in their like 7, 8, 9, two girls and a boy, were out playing near a grotto in the field. And all of a sudden, an apparition of the Virgin Mary appeared, almost holographic, in front of them, floating just above their heads. They dropped to the ground, started praying, and the Virgin Mary, the Holy Mary, told them something that was catastrophic that was going to happen. And they were horrified, and the session ended. They went home, told their parents. Their parents said, "You're lying. This is crazy. If she would do that, you didn't see it. You're just fantasizing." So the next time they went out, the parents went with them. And the parents saw for themselves a second apparition. And in this case, she told them a little bit more. And at this point, the parents were believers, and they went back and talked to the local priest and the bishop, and all of a sudden the whole town knew it. And so the third time they went out there, hundreds of villagers went with them. And there are historic photos. You can just search Third Secret Fatima. And what Fatima it's a town in Portugal, Fatima, Portugal.
Okay.
And so you'll see a picture of these people in their appropriate 1907 garb, all black hats, capes and so on. And they're all looking up in the sky with their mouths open at the same exact thing. And in that apparition, she told them the final secret. Well, anyways, the kids took the secrets to the church. The church didn't know what to do with them. So they wrapped them up and sent them off to the Vatican. The Vatican immediately saw the consequences of letting this go public. So they put it in their vaults, in their deep underground vaults. And it's said that 2 of the events have already happened. And I don't know whether it was World War I, World War II, or what. In 1982, Pope John Paul was at a at a conference of bishops in Germany, and one of the bishops asked him, "Could you please tell us what the third secret of Fatima is?" So far, only the Pope has known. And he said to the bishop, "What good would it do for me to satisfy your vicarious interest to tell you that the ocean are going to leave their basins and billions of people are going to suddenly die?" He didn't say what was going to cause it. That's all he said. Now, that parallels Noah and those events. It parallels geological events known as pole shifts, where the shift is so sudden. Think of kicking a bucket of water or a swimming pool sideways, where the earth goes one way, the water goes the other. And that's why it leaves its basins and cascades across the earth. Noah's Ark was apparently found at 11,000-foot altitude on Mount
Ararat in Turkey, right?
Arafat, that's right. And I don't know anybody that's going to survive that unless you do have an ark. Our bunkers can survive submersion. The one in South Dakota is at 4,000-foot altitude. It's far away from all fault lines and so on. So either you go up or you go deep, and so we've got both. But I can tell you, this stuff has happened before, and it's going to happen again. What's currently going on in America with Washington, with the election, with what may be a collapse of government, a rebellion, a third world war, a total meltdown of our country, or a third civil war. and which will likely lead to a world war, because when our guard is down, we're fighting. That's perfect opportunity for China or Russia or anybody else to march in.
Sure.
And the UN has already been said that they're prepared to come in and house-to-house search for everything they don't want you to have. In 1933, the Nazis had a thing called the book burn. They burned millions of books trying to change history. And that's what they're going to do again. It's 88 years since then. What they're going to do is,
of course, a night of glass. Yeah, that sure.
They're going to go door to door, and they're going to take anything religious, symbols, Bibles, paintings, books. They're going to take your guns, your ammo, anything and everything that is to try and strip religion from society, and anything you can do to fight it. It's going to happen. It's already been, it's out there. Everybody knows it. You know, the problem is people won't, everybody's going to believe what I'm saying is true when it happens.
But they won't act on it now. I got so many questions. I want to fire a couple at you. What do you think, and I think I got the answer, what's the most likely extinction event, in your opinion? If it goes down in our lifetime, what is it going to be? Barring a zombie apocalypse, what do you think we're looking at?
I think it's a natural Earth event. I think it is going to be a pole shift. And that's going to be caused by something from space. It said that Nibiru, aka Planet X, has a strong enough magnetic pole to tilt this planet suddenly 90 degrees. So the North Pole will be at the equator. And that's what causes the flooding in the oceans and so on. You know, you can go back and historically, even in South Dakota, guess what? There's bones, archaeological digs on my property. I own a military base up there of 9 square miles. Amazing. And there's things on that property I haven't even seen yet. We discovered a lake the last time I was up there, a big lake. I didn't know it was there. Wow. And so there's all sorts of things, but I've heard they've discovered fish bones, ancient, you know, prehistoric sea creatures. And I know they found at least one, maybe two. And so what does that tell you? The oceans were there at one point. We all know that.
Yeah, in South Dakota. Wow. So assuming that is the event then, Robert, how much warning will we have?
Well, I think you're gonna see it first in the skies. It will be, they won't be able to deny it. You know, there's some that say that Google Earth and all they already know, and they're already smudging it and so on. There are plenty of photographers and astronomers that have seen it. And ironically, about 10 years ago, there was a string of astronomers suddenly dying off for unusual circumstances. They work as pairs in the middle of the night, 2 astronomers up in this telescope in the middle of the night. And what would happen is the one would die off. Oh, he had a sudden cancer. And then the second one would the next week drive off a cliff. And so a lot of surprising, suspicious deaths that, you know, aren't coincidental. And if it didn't happen to 1 or 2, it happened to many. And so who were those astronomers? Those were astronomers that knew, and they were ready to tell the world. And they don't want the governments of the world don't want this out. If it is true.
Right, so here's what I'm trying to figure out then. I'm a member, let's say I'm a member of one of your communities. Yep. How do I know when it's time to tell my boss, hey, I'm taking work off for a week or forever? Do you know? I mean, how does a word spread where people that are part of your communities?
When it gets to that point, you're probably not going to tell them you're taking time off. You're going to say, hey, buddy, go after yourself. I'm leaving.
Well, I was being facetious, of course, yes. But how do we know at that time?
You're just going to know. Either your instincts are going to tell you, or we're going to see it in the sky. They will no longer be able to cloak it. So what are we going to have? Weeks notice? Months notice? I don't know. I do not have the answer when. All right. I don't even have the answer to what. What's going to get us first? Is it going to be civil war in America? Is it going to be, socialism, communism? Is it going to be we're all going to detention camps for re-education? I don't know. That's what the common.
I'm sure nobody knows, but you would probably have a better idea than just about anybody. That's why I wanted to get your take on that.
I do, and I can give you the signals and the signs, and I'm giving a few to you right now. But let me just say this. We studied every possible scenario, every catastrophic scenario. And we made a chart. And in that chart, we said, okay, this happens, then this happens, then this, and this. And guess what? They all end the same. There will be survivors, but very few survivors. And it's going to be hell on earth for them to try to survive. So,
and obviously the best spot is underground in one of your cities, if that's a correct word for it.
Well, it always has been. When the asteroid hit and killed the dinosaurs, you know who survived? The tiniest creatures that mold underground and waited it out. So same thing here. The Earth is the best protector. You only need about 6 feet of Earth above you to stop radiation. Do you know where the term 6 feet under came from? Why they chose to?
I don't, but it's funny when you said you only need 6 feet above you. Most of us don't like thinking like that, but this is a different way to look at it.
There's a different type of 6 feet. Right. Where it came from was the plague in Europe, the Black Plague. They asked the coroner, "What do we do with all these bodies?" He said, "Bury them." And they said, "How deep?" And he said, 6 feet. He had no reason to say that. He just pulled it out of his hat. And it turns out that is the exact distance minimum you need to stop biologicals from coming out or radiation from getting in our case. So, you've got to be prepared to go. A lot of people say, "I got a bug out bag. I got 3 days of supplies." Yeah. So to bug out where? To the mountains, to the desert where you don't have anything, and where everybody else is going. A lot of people say, "I'm going to go to the Ozarks. That's a safe place." Really? So you're going to meet 1 million people in the Ozarks that have nothing, or 3 days, and they're out. Now what are you going to do? And that's not going to save you from epic events, Earth changes. I think we're going to see some major Earth changes. I think the spiral has already started. And I'll go back to the third secret of Fatima. I've been told by somebody that is very, very spiritually connected, let's put it that way, not religious, but my producers on our network show we're working on, they talked to her and they said, "Wow, this woman's the oracle. She knows everything. She knows what happened." She apparently claims to have lived 40,000 years ago, many lifetimes. She's been here for every one of these extinction events, and she has 100% recall. And she's come to me 3 years ago and said, "Robert, do you remember who you are?" I said, "No." She goes, "Do you remember me?" I said, "No." I said, "Why should I?" And she goes, "We were part of those events." And I said, "What event?" She goes, "Noah." And I said, "Are you saying I'm Noah?" She goes, "No, you are a Noah." And I said, "What do you mean by that?" She goes, "There were many, many Noahs. Noah in the day meant captain of the ship. And she was on my ship. She was one of the mystic, what'd she call herself? A alchemist. And in the day. And she said there were 40,000 survivors of that event. And there wasn't a single Noah. That's the myth. But these ships did have survivors. And that's who we call the ancients. Have you ever met somebody and you said, "Wow, you're very deep. You have a very old soul. Like I know you've been around." Those are ancients. And I said,
"Yes, I'm familiar with the term. Yes, of course." Right.
Okay, and she is an ancient, and she's here now. I said, "Well, what are you doing here?" And she said, "I'm here to help people get through." And she goes, "There's about 40,000 of us on the earth right now to help people get through." And I said, "And how many are going to get through?" And she said, "Not many." And I said, "So why are the others here? What are they going to do?" She said, "A lot of people are here, not even with a soul, but they're here to witness the event, to experience it. They just want to experience it." And I said, really? And I said, so why? She goes, not everybody is here to survive, and everybody's meant to survive. And you would say, this is crazy. And I did too. But I've met with her, 3 or 4 times in person. She sought me out up in South Dakota. I bought her a computer one year because she couldn't get on the net. So I said, here, let me buy you a laptop. And then she told me she couldn't afford the gas to get to Starbucks to get it to work, get Wi-Fi, because she lived out in the boonies. And so I said, okay, what do you need? And she told me. And then all of a sudden, she told me she was really struggling. She had an ex-husband who was fighting her in court and kept, I don't know, 3 or 4 million of child support away from her. And I mean, I couldn't help but feel for her in the desperation. I offered her free space in South Dakota, and she said she didn't have the gas to get there, and she was pretty close. I said, I'll pay for your gas. And she goes, no, I got to stay here and continue to fight the courts on my husband. I said, give it up. You're fighting a losing battle. Your job here on earth is not to fight your ex-ass husband. Your job is maybe to help spread the light. I can give you a national limelight. I can put you on, I create a whole TV show around it. And I can promise you, and then I got my producers in touch, but she all of a sudden vanished. And here's how. She couldn't pay her phone bill. So I have no way, then the phone was disconnected. Right now, I have no way to reach her. I would love to. I would have her sitting next to me to tell you what she knows, and what she knows will blow you away. She told me 2 years ago, before all the crap that's happening now is happening, that America is going to be dismantled over the next 5 years. Dismantled. I said, well, that's a strange term. And then she said, she said she knows the third secret, and it will be revealed in March of this year, 2021. She said that America is going to go down like the phoenix, but it will rise again in 2025. She said the pandemic, she told me about that 6 months before it happened. Before anybody was thinking pandemic, she told me. And she said it's going to live on until about 2029, when it'll finally burn out of all its mutations. But she said by then, there'll be no hospitals, there'll be no insurance companies. They're all going to be wiped. So she goes in, I can't tell you how much I've taken pages and pages. I would sit with her or call her once a month, and just to have information, insight. And I would try to keep notes, and very cryptic. And because the words and the language she uses are not things that we're familiar with, that we would normally use. It wasn't a fake. I can guarantee you she was not fake or fraudulent. She knows. And so apparently I'm here for a reason. She's here for a reason. I often try to send her messages through the ethers. Call me. Get back in touch with me. I need to talk to you. And I hope that someday she will. All right. And she deserves her own television show. I told her to start writing a book. She can't. She's an astronomer. She's she's a scientist. She's got a lot of heavy degrees behind her, and she is super, super intelligent. But other than that, that's just one of the validators. I got so many people coming to me all the time with so much information. But I can tell you, what we're going through right now will be a civil war. All right, we're going to fight the communist socialist takeover. That will lead to an invasion by either China or Russia, but probably China, who will come at us when our guard is down and we're weak and we're split and divided. And that'll lead to a world war. There will be nukes. And you're going to see secessions of state from the Union. All right. I think Texas and North Dakota, South Dakota are going to be right up front. I'm not so sure about California anymore, but maybe. And so those are going to secede, and combined with a world war and an economic collapse, because how many people are losing their jobs and their businesses by design? By design, the whole thing. The statistics for the flu for 2020 were 0.
So I do want to interrupt you. I don't want to go too far down this hole. I have so many questions I want to ask you still, if that's okay. And I want to go back to your facilities, because absolutely fascinates me. So you're building one right now that can house 10,000 people. I know you have others, some you don't publicize. How many are available right now for public consumption? Somebody out there
Um,
saying, you have
I've
five?
got, I've got space in Indiana in a very
Okay.
large shelter.
Okay.
Still have some spaces. That one's turnkey, ready to go. All you got to do is show up in your underwear. Southern Indiana.
Okay.
Very, very safe location, built by the military during the Cold War to withstand I've heard different numbers, but let's say 10 megaton within 10 miles.
And then
So
what's in there? Someone shows up in their underwear. Briefly,
it's,
what's there?
well, hopefully they won't show up in their underwear. We don't want to see it, but
Well,
it's
depends
an
who it
underground.
is. That's all
Yeah,
right.
that's right. It's an underground cruise ship. That's how it's been defined by the media. It's got
Okay.
everything. It's got a gym. It's got a dog pound area. It's like a submarine with two of everything, every piece of equipment, from two generators to septic systems to hot water heaters to laundromats, complete.
What about
It's
medical facilities?
Yep, we got medical facilities to the extent that we can. We don't have prescription medicines because we can't. So people have to
Right.
bring their own stockpile and bring their own,
Mhm.
or go to a something more natural, perhaps.
I would say you probably wouldn't want people on meds down there anyway. Right. Right.
In some cases, we may have to sedate because they're not going to handle the pressure very well. They're going to be crying in the beginning. There's going to be a lot of crying and a lot of tears
How
because of
many
what they
people
know is going.
in Indiana? How many people could fit in Indiana?
It's designed for 80 people. We can take a few more.
Okay. And
And that
who runs things?
and
I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
it has a kitchen that can accommodate uh, several meals a day for 80 to 100 people. It has
Okay.
all the food stock, all the fuel for a year. It's got deep underground water wells. It's got bedroom suites. It's got a theater. It's got a big dining area. It's lounge areas. It's very comfortable. People that have bought in never even saw it and went there a year or 2 years after they bought in. They said, Robert, you outdid yourself. This thing is amazing. I had media go through, all sorts of major media. They've all said the same thing.
All
Wow,
right.
this is far bigger and better than we could have imagined. But then we did South Dakota. South Dakota was an ex-military base that was called Fort Igloo, where they made and stored bombs for World War II to be dispersed around the world. Funny, I had a Japanese news crew with the number one Japanese host, like Barbara Walters and her whole crew. And they came over and we're standing on the mountain and she asked, what was all this for? And I said, oh, back in 1942, the US government made bombs, stored bombs. There was millions of bombs out there in these giant bunkers. There's about 900 bunkers, each one 2,000 feet square. They're
Wow.
domes, they're concrete. So they're bigger than the average house, 2,000 square feet.
Mhm.
And they stacked them to the hilt. And I said, and then the government, they would send them around the world during the war as ammunition to fight the war. I never said Japan. I don't think she connected. But
That's a pretty easy connection, but okay. All
I
right.
didn't.
Yes.
I didn't go there. So it's just we've had a lot of irony, also with German media, a lot of them,
I
and
would imagine.
going to that facility. But anyways, it's 9 square miles is what I bought. I purchased it from ranchers who purchased it from the city, who got it for $100,000 the whole base from the military army when they shut it down in 1967. It's a clean base. They've gone through with a fine tooth comb for all sorts of contamination. There's nothing there. Even the worst thing, they had mustard gas or some type of gas. Its shelf life is like a week, maybe a month. So we're talking 1942, all gone, all dissipated.
Long
There's
gone,
nothing
sure.
there.
Is anybody
So
living down there right now?
yeah, we have about a dozen families living in their bunkers. They're
Okay.
completing their bunkers as we speak. Some are really fully completed. Vivos also builds out the bunkers if they don't have the time to do it. We do what's called it's basically a first class fit and finish, giving them 5 bedrooms, exercise room.
I
Big,
saw the
great.
photos. It's beautiful. Yeah, I see what it looks like. It's amazing. Sure.
Yeah, and so all that's for a price of a new Mercedes, or the basic bunker is 35,000. The price of what do you get for 35,000? A mid-size car, or low-end Jeep.
Mm-hmm.
So you get for 35,000 with Vivos, you get a 2,200 square foot bunker that'll accommodate about 24 people very comfortably.
But you won't sell. You won't sell to just anybody, though.
Well, we do. We're very selective, and
Mm-hmm.
we're just trying to weed out the crazies.
Okay.
And I got to tell you, we do as best we can. We have a psychologist aboard, but some of them slip by, and when they do, we find out pretty quickly. And when we do, we usher them out. We, buy them out and tell them it's not for them, and so on. So, look, I don't go to bed with people. People, find a date and go to bed with them and get married to them, and 5 years later find out who they really married, who they really
Mm-hmm.
are. I might even know. We do background checks and everything, but you don't know people's real personality until you've been with them for a while. So that's okay. We have rules and regs. I call them the Disney rules and regs because they're Disney-esque in the sense that you can't touch anybody, you can't look at children, you can't touch children.
I was going to ask you about all this. Okay, that's all right. Good, good.
And those
All
are
right.
grounds for expulsion. You can't be running up.
Who enforces these rules?
The security team. We have an on-site security team made up of members, ex-military, ex-police. It's well secured, and that security force is growing as the facility grows.
Okay.
We're not done building out. We've done the first section. There's about a dozen sections. We may not be done for 5 years, or we could be done in 6 months. It's market driven. So, but it's epic. I can tell you, every media from CBS to whoever that's been there with their cameras have stood on a hill that's on the site that you can see 50 miles in every direction. And so we can see you coming on a dirt road the only road in, and we can see you for about 6 miles approaching.
Wow.
Good luck. And
good perimeter security. Wow.
Yeah, we have it all. But anyways, they've been up on top there, some famous television hosts that you would know, and they've said, oh my God, I would not have believed it if I didn't see it, how big it is. It's so big that you can stand at one end and look as far as you can see, and all you see is a speck on the horizon. That's a bunker, or a row of specks. Those are the bunkers. It's about 4 miles by 2.5 or something. And then it's surrounded by natural government, U.S. government preserved land, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Nobody's going to invade this place. My security team, I got a colonel from the Army, Apache helicopter pilot. I got his crew, his team. Nobody's going to invade the place. Plus, we're out in the middle of nowhere, South Dakota.
What's your capacity? What's your human capacity there?
That one will be 5,000 to 10,000 people.
5 to 10,000. All right. Yeah. And where do you go? Where do you go when all the shit comes down? Are you going to South Dakota?
No. I'm going to Mexico.
All right. So you have one in Mexico.
No, I was talking to a friend today that's going to Cabo, and I said it's probably one of the safer spots because you're surrounded by water. You just got to worry about people from northern Baja coming down, or the government itself. But it's a livable area. But there is no safe place on Earth. Trust me, we've discussed this all the time. And in the last couple of weeks, I've been asking people, where would you go if you had to leave America and you had 5 minutes to decide? And the reaction is always the same. And these are people that I know that are already members. They say, I don't know. I haven't given that any thought. And I said, well, let's do it together. And so I say, would you go to South America? Oh, I don't know about that. It's kind of lawless. And I said, Uruguay, Argentina section's very remote, certainly parts of Chile, but it's very active geologically active and a victim of a tsunami, mega tsunami. Peru, Ecuador, things like that. And they will say, oh, I'll go to what's called Australia and
New Zealand.
New Zealand. Thank you. I have brain fart. And I say, well, I've been to New Zealand many times, but guess what? It's closed. You're not getting in unless you have a secret way to get in, and then you got to hide in secret. You're not going to get in anymore. So you go to Australia, and you're going to have to go to the outback, get away from the people. And there's a lot of critters out there. If you're not prepared, they're going to get you. So then we talk about, well, how about Mexico? No. How about Africa? No. How about, Italy? No. And you know where we end up is I always go back and I say, well, what about America? Let's say we just stay here. Where would you go in America? And the common immediate response is South Dakota, because it's one of the most constitutional states, and it's always going to be that way. Strong First, Second Amendment believers. It's wide open country, like-minded people. It's high altitude. It's away from all known natural dangers, other than Yellowstone, which is about 350 miles west. But by the time it gets to us, the ash would be like snow, a couple feet, maybe 3. And you know what you do with ash? You treat it like snow. You just shovel it off the roof. But these bunkers want to be buried. They are buried under earth, and they can hit a lot more than they got now. So, I'll be going to the nearest shelter. Let's put it that way. It could be South Dakota, it could be Indiana, it could be Europe. We have one in Germany, built by the Soviets, or the new one of 3 million square feet for 10,000 people. And so what we're building is epic shelters. They're full cities, full communities that have like-minded people that will survive collectively whatever comes our way, meaning they're prepared, and they're their own mini force if they have to be. It's not a militia, it's not a cult, it's not a religion.
I wanted to ask you what the government, for lack of a better word, is in these places.
There's none other than rules and regs. And but
is there a singular boss in each place, or not necessarily?
Yeah, we have management, we have security, but we don't have that kind of commander. Okay. Even when I'm considered, well, Robert, I'm not the dictator, I'm not the king, I'm not the commander. I put myself beneath all others. And why? Because I need to inspire them. My expression is, the best way to lead is from behind. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is just inspire them. So you're not pushing a rope up the hill, but you're making it, so when I go around looking for help, like security, I already knew within the membership that's there who had skills, who was in the military, who has the mindset, and so on. So I just said, hey, guess what? You're deputized, and you're deputized. And another guy, I said, you're the security director. And he got himself a $165 badge. Beautiful. And these guys take it very seriously. Because and the other thing I should say is they're already a community. They get together for every holiday. On Thanksgiving, there was like 10 families, even a family that's not part of Vivos that came in from the outside, who's a worker and very cherished. And there was so many turkeys and food brought that they had to have Thanksgiving the following day as well, on Friday. Same thing Christmas Eve and Christmas, same thing New Year's Eve and New Year's. And so it's gotten to the point where if I call them at dinner time, my key guy, I start talking to them, the other guys are in the background joking, laughing, drinking beers, whatever. There's a real bond between these people, and they love it. They are so happy that I created the vessel for them to have a community of like-minded that's going to grow. And I think what's going to happen is over time, when this stuff happens, be it political, be it a man-made event or natural, there are going to be survivors all over the world. And those within North America, at least, are going to probably hear about Vivos, and they're going to say, I hear Vivos, there's survivors, let's go there. And so that's going to become a new mecca for the restart. And there will be a restart, and we're prepared to restart. all this I'm offering is life assurance, not insurance. In fact, we're working with a major insurance company. Everybody knows who. Can't reveal it yet, but they're going to start offering it as another form of life insurance, calling it life assurance to their high net worth or upper end clientele, and they've got a lot of them. That's what they specialize in. And so they approached us, and so that's happening. We've got Saudi Arabians wanting to team up and pay. You ready for this? Millions for a license for the right to be our partner in Saudi Arabia. To
I
build
will
shelters.
imagine so. Sure, I could absolutely see that.
You know
Robert,
what I need? You know what I need from you and your
Tell me.
listeners? I need some personal security. So
If you do, seriously, I've got some very, very good guys, not in San Diego, but in Orange County, so not too far from you, that are really well suited, I think, to everything you're talking about. Absolutely.
Or if they want to become members, I will often do a trade for a bunker or a generous deal if they're bringing something critical to the table, or if it's a hardship case that in fact, get ready for this. Another television show theme is, and I'll just kind of tease you with it, is we are going to give away a dozen bunkers. And there's going to be a competition, and there's some guidelines, and it's for families of minimum of 4 that are ready, willing, and able to accept the prize and go over there and get started on building out their bunker. Wow. But there's some twist to that. There will be, it's kind of like American Idol. You're going to come, you're going to talk your spiel on stage. You're going to have a bunch of athletic and shooting courses and so on and so on. And then there's a grand finale. And it's a series of shows that leads up. And then there's a great surprise at the end. And that's the part I can't tell you. And I think it's going to cause people from all over the world to say, hey, we should enter.
It's a great concept for an unscripted series. I don't want to keep you all night, but it brings more questions up. I know you were connected to Craig Pelagian at one point. Is that correct?
I never met the guy.
Okay.
We had, but I will tell you, we had a show brought to. I had a young producer in New York come to me, Robert, let's do a show. But he was just wanted a young producer. So I said okay, and I gave him the idea for the show and script and everything. He said this is great. He started shopping it. Who was it? One of the networks picked it up. That they wanted it, but they wanted a bigger producer to handle it. So they went to.
This happens all the time in that business, of course. Sure.
Yeah. So they went to Pelagian. Pelagian tried to ace my buddy out, and we don't need you. Then they negotiated everything with him and with the network, but they didn't negotiate with me. And about a week before Memorial Day, they came to me and said, "Well, we're ready to roll. Everything's signed. We've got a dozen episodes bought and paid for. All we need is your signature." I said, "No problem. Send it over, and let me see what you got. If it's reasonable, I'll get it back to you in 5 minutes. If not, we're going to have a problem." They sent it over, and it was obnoxious. It was.
I've seen those deals. Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah, well, it was. I had a learning curve. It was one of the worst. And for example, it got down to this was the Vivos was the prize. It was my show. I was the producer, and they said, "Well, we'll mention Vivos twice in the show for no more than 3 seconds." Mm-hmm. I said, "What? Are you kidding me?" And they said, "Well, if not, you're going to have to pay for the commercial time." I said, "No worries. You're going to have to pay for the bunker time." And so it got a little tedious. And then what the big deal breaker was, they wanted an exclusive until the end of time throughout the universe, which is normal, but on everything, merchandising, licensing, and the only thing I could do was news or shows like this. And I said, wait a minute, you want me to put all that up to be on a show? And I think the network was Spike. And anyways, so we signed anyways, and it proceeded. 30 days, 35 or 45 days later, they had done all the prep and production stuff. They met with Spike, and Spike gave Spike the budget. It was $600,000 an episode, and Spike said, "Are you crazy? We can't afford this. You got to take
that's a lot for a first season unscripted. Yeah, that's a pretty big budget."
So they said, you got to take out some stuff, and that was before drones. So the guy said, "Well, we'll take out the helicopters." No, we need that. Well, we'll take out the animation. No, we need that too. And then Pelagian said, "Well, I'll give up my fee for the first season." And they said, "No, that's not enough." Anyways, it got into a battle. There was a lot of friction between him and the head at Spike, and they actually escorted him out of the building and killed the show. And
I'm not for our viewers out there in podcast land. Robert and I are talking about a guy named Craig Pelagian from Pilgrim Entertainment, commonly in the reality world known as one of the Big 40. And a lot of our fans will know him because he's along with Dana White, the creator of The Ultimate Fighter. And he did have a lot of problems at Spike with that show. So I've never heard this story, but not surprised by anything you're telling me. It makes a lot of sense.
At the end of the day, let me tell you what happened. The deal died. I got a copy of their script and the show, and I wasn't in it. And I was supposed to be one of the key figures in the show, a host. And
you would think, sure, right.
And a co-producer. And I said, "What's this?" And they brought in all these weird, whoever. And I said, "This was not the show. This was not the deal." And so I said, "You know what? I'm really happy the deal died." I told my attorney to write a letter of rescission on the basis that there was nothing exchanged, give and get. And we did. We pulled the plug. We canceled it forever. And then I said, I will never go on a show with that guy or be under his production. And my slogan is I'd rather have no deal than a bad deal.
Well, without question. And you should have a deal you enjoy also. It's not just business. You can have fun with it also. And there are good people to work with that there.
A bad deal will rot your gut for life. I wish I didn't do that. So I don't need bad deals. I turn them down left and right. But right now we're working with a very high top 5 network on a big show and good producers, good-hearted, everything's good. You never know. You know the business.
I do.
But in the meantime, they're chasing me. Why? Because I'm getting so much. This is a global, historic, biblical event that we're doing here. And
you're the guy and the company leading this industry, and the timing, this is it. I mean, it's time, right?
So in 2007, I told my CPA, who I'd been with for 30 years, I said, "Hey, I'm going to do this new thing." And I told him what it was. He escorted me out of his office by the back door. And from then on, for another 4 or 5 years, it was a cold relationship. He thought it was crazy. And then he told me about a year and a half ago, he was retiring on January of last year, I think it was. And so I said, "Really, what are you going to do? Retiring?" He smiled and smirked, and he said, "Don't worry about it." A week after he retired, he was in Palm Desert golfing. He had a fatal heart attack on the course. And so I'm unable to show him what became of our little business idea when I walked into his office. The whole from above, he sees, wow, it was just that I was ahead of time there, but the time is perfect. I don't know anybody, including you, that wouldn't want a shelter if it was reasonably available and you could afford it.
Absolutely. Right? So where does the person go? I know your website, but is that your primary destination if people want to look more into it?
Yeah, it's the easiest. You can just search the word Vivos.
Vivos, yes.
Right. It means the living or to survive in Latin. You can search that, and we come up as the first 10,000 pages or something. And click on it. You'll see our website. It's got a bunch of information, different sites, even some clips from HBO show, Nat Geo, Netflix, and so on, all good stuff. And all throughout, it's got a little button that says apply for membership. First thing you have to do is do that. So we know who we're talking to. Then in a conference call set up with you and one of our staff, and we just answer all your questions and see if it's good for you. And then we do everything we can, from financing to helping in stages to just offering you advice on how to glamp it. Glamping is a pretty cool thing, where you get it set up with tents, and you're basically camping under the dome, but you'll survive. And like, think of it as a sheik's tent. In fact, you're a businessman, right?
Yes, sir.
And coming from the field that you do, you had big auditoriums, right?
Arenas, auditoriums, yes, stadiums, all that fun stuff. Yes, indoor stadiums. Right. Yeah.
And those are called, let's call them overhead. Right? I had an Arab told me once if I knew where the word overhead came from, and I said no. And I said, I don't think so. He goes, it's an Arab term. I said, really? He goes, yeah. The bigger the harem, the bigger the tent overhead. So, meaning you're going to have a lot of girls in your harem. You need a bigger tent. You got more overhead, and you get more expenses. Anyways, just speaking about overhead. So Vivos is here. We're doing fine. We're doing well. We're here to help, but you got to help yourself. If not, just remember, somebody may say, well, I'm waiting for, I hope God answers my prayers, or I'm going to pray. Hey, he's telling you now through me, maybe, to heed his recommendation and his warning. Prepare. It's your duty.
Take action. Yes, prayer is great. Faith is great, but what they call it? Without works. What's the phrase? Prayer, faith without works. You know what I'm saying. You gotta take action. Absolutely.
Yeah, and don't sit back waiting for the government to help you. By the way, my battery is very low, so I may lose you. But before I do, let me just make a point. There were people, I think 9/11 was a great example. There were people in the building, and we're waiting for somebody to tell them what to do, somebody with authority. The security guard from the building went to those people on the upper floors and said, go back to your desks. Everything's going to be free. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, you went away for 1 second. Now I got you. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. John, are you hearing Robert?
No, his mic is disconnected.
Your mic is, we can't hear you. Oh, shoot. May have a battery issue. We'll talk through it for a second, John. We'll see if he comes back. I do want to ask your impression of this when it's over, for sure. It looks like this would be an unfortunate way to have to end the show, but it looks like the man who is controlling the aftermath is solving the technical issue right now. So let's hope so. As we wait with bated breath. Robert, can you hear us? John, what do you think is happening?
Their mic is not connected.
Okay, you can see that from your back end, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Robert, I think we have to wrap. We can't hear, unfortunately. John, we have no way to communicate with him off the line either, do we?
Nope.
All right, and
so for some reason his microphone is not connected.
Can you shoot him a quick email and just let him know that we're going to do the wrap up, and we'll reconnect at another time? Are you able to do that, John or Rachel?
Mhm.
Okay, great, great. So why don't we do this? He's gone. All right. You took him off the screen, right?
Yep.
All right. And John, why don't you come on for a minute, if you wouldn't mind? Oh, wait.
He's
Can
back.
you hear me?
Robert,
I'm back.
Robert, you're back. You're back.
No, it's actually my front, but that's okay. Can you see me?
Yes, we
There
can
we
see you and hear you. You are back. Yes,
It's
sir.
a miracle. Actually, it looks better than it did before.
There
We
you
can
are.
make it stronger and better than he was before. So
There's always a way through. Yes, you were saying.
I forgot what I was saying. John, what was I saying? The World Trade Center. So the guard represented the members of the government, an authority. And he went and told the people after the first plane crashed that they should go back to their offices, everything's going to be fine. Those are what I call the liberal people, those that don't take responsibility for their own lives, believe the government's going to be there to take care of them, and they're always relying on the government to tell them what to do. So, however, a lot of people left the building. They flew down those stairs as fast as they could. Why? They had a gut level feeling that said, it's not right. This is going to be a disaster. And those people ended up surviving. The people that listened to somebody else for advice, a government who was unqualified, look what happened. They didn't survive. So the key here is you have to have self-responsibility. And you're going to find the key difference between, and I'll be political, liberals and conservatives, is liberals believe the government's going to be there for them. They're going to live off the government. They're going to get subsidies and everything else. Conservatives don't believe that. They believe it's their duty to do what they can to support and survive in every form of their life. So they're more self-responsible. All right. And I think that's the crowd that we attract. Those are the people we attract. People that get it, that do a lot of research, that connect the dots, listen to all sorts of alternative media like yours, and are saying, hey, this isn't right. CNN's not going to tell us what's really going on, or Fox. And they're smart enough to say, hey, this could happen. And if it does, I got insurance. That's all it is. And the funny thing is, they can buy it and resell it in the future. Where do you get any form of insurance that goes up in value? The equity, and you still have the benefit of the insurance. If something happens, you're covered, you go. All right. And at the moment of truth, do you know what a Vivos space or a Vivos bunker is worth? Answer the question.
Yeah, it's worth everything, man. I like the term. Go ahead.
It's priceless. And what would you be willing to pay to get in, and with you and your family to survive? You'd
everything
pay
you got, of course.
Everything you got. That's right. Right. Supposing that it still has value, cash may not. You got to have fungibility. Gold, silver, whatever it may be. Maybe you bring skills to the table that are precious. You're a doctor, maybe you're military. Maybe you're bringing a lot of extra food that you've stocked up, or medications. There's a lot of things you can get in on, but don't count on it. You want to be sure, you've got to take the action. One of the things we don't do is we don't market. We've never advertised. We don't send out any publicity, PR releases. All we do is respond to the media. E-blasts, we probably do one to our members once a year, maybe twice. I was working on one today. It took me all day to work on it, and it's just a draft, because we don't want to come off as wham bams, trying to spam them and sell them. We don't sell anything. All we do is stand here to answer people's questions to people that already get it. Either you get it or you don't. If you don't, so be it. I can't convince you, if you're a non-religious person, that the what do we want to call it? Musliminity or the faith is the way to go.
Yes.
And any more than I can convert you from that to Christianity. We're not here to convert. We're not here to preach, and we're not here to sell. That's my slogan. We don't sell. We just make it available. You buy it. And you would say, what kind of organization is that? You should have a big, huge sales team. You know how many leads? And we get hundreds of leads a day. But at the end of the day, what we found is the ones that want it are the ones that they're persistent. They come to us.
It's about I could absolutely see the model behind that. It makes all the sense in the world. I know I'm going to hear from a lot of people now about this. I'm certain of that. And their next step is to go to your website. I want to make sure I understand that.
And I appreciate the plug, but more than getting the plug, understand that I don't need the plug. All right, we're doing fine.
I know that.
But I do want to get the message out to your audience.
Well, and that's what I'm trying to do. All respect. I'm not trying to plug, and I'm glad you think I am trying to help because I want to help, of course. But I'm doing this for people that want to take action. That's why I'm asking. I just want to make sure they know what to do. Including yourself. You asked what to do. And is that a good plan? It's not a bad plan. You're in a remote area on an island. You're going to have less, other than major earth changes. You may have a tsunami problem. You may have earthquake problems where you are. You know, John in New York, one of your producers, I would rather be in Hawaii than I'd rather be in New York. I mean, we've all seen the movies when the shit hits the fan in New York. What are you going to do? How are you going to get out? So let me give you a little tip on how to get out of New York when the shit hits the fan. John, you ready for this?
No, I'm just doing a pregnant silence for a reaction. It was fun. How you're going to get out is, let me recommend, go to your local sporting goods store, big one, box store, or Amazon. Find yourself a nice Avalon or rubber raft, whatever the types are, for the size of you and your family and maybe a little supplies. Get a electric motor that attaches to the back.
Little outboard motor.
Bag, put it in the closet in your condo or apartment, wherever you're living in New York. And at the moment of truth, when everybody else is scrambling, head to the river, whichever river, Hudson preferably. Put it down, inflate it, start it, get everybody aboard, and head north. Head up the Hudson, get out of the city. And if you really want to be prepared, there's all sorts of homes bordering the Hudson that, you know, when you're in the countryside, maybe 5 miles upriver, whatever you can get to. Rent a garage from a little old lady, and there's plenty of those, and have your SUV parked in that garage with fuel and extra fuel and food and supplies and blankets and everything you're going to need to bug out. And so you're out of New York and you have a bug out place to go. Once you get that vehicle and you're already out of what do we call them? What was the town for Batman? But once you're out of Metropolis,
Gotham City.
Yeah, once you get out of Gotham, you know, you're home free, maybe, but you got a much better chance than trying to survive with all the mayhem that's going to happen. And trust me, all the ugly things are going to happen. So that's probably the only way that I know of. Don't think about a car. Don't think about the subway. Now, if you're Trump and you got a helicopter, that'll work too. But, you know, we don't know. It could be an EMP. That's the event. And by the way, I think we're highly vulnerable for an EMP attack on America. And here's why. Be it the Chinese, to the precursor.
EMP. What is that?
An electromagnetic pulse that puts out millions of megawatts of electromagnetic energy. It comes from it's a side effect of a nuclear device. If it's set off 100 miles above the Earth over North America, it'll knock out every electrical circuit, every fuse, every wire, every transformer, everything in the line of sight. So from 100 miles up, you can see 2,000 miles. You see all of America, North America, Canada, northern Mexico, and so on. In a flash, in a nanosecond, it's all out. It's gone. And it's just one bomb. But guess what? It's very effective. And the U.S. military knows it's out there. We have them. The Chinese have them, and so on. The U.S. may even do it themselves. If there was anarchy and an uprising, they may set that off to diffuse, to come up with some kind of squash. Unfortunately, it'll take down the net. It'll take down Silicon Valley, which probably isn't unfortunate. And it'll take down everything electrical. You'll have no electricity in your house, no water, no sewer, which needs electricity to be pumped. No food at the stores because no trucks are running and no factories are producing. No internet, no phone, no radio, no nothing. You're back in the 17 or 1800s. If you're in New York, how are you going to do to survive that? You're going to start growing food on your balcony if you had one? No, you got to get the hell out of there because you're going to be the lunch. And so one EMP will change your life completely. And it was reported in 2008 when Biden first got in. There was a report from the Brookings Institute to the U.S. Congress that the #1 threat America faced at the time was a rogue EMP. And they claimed that 95% of Americans, if it was in our country, would be dead within 1 year. They would kill each other off one by one. Why?
The reason I'm looking down is I'm searching something on my device. There's a movie out about this right now that I saw it, but I even remember the actors. It was Evan Rachel Wood and Ellen Page are the stars, 2 females.
There's also a movie.
It's good. It's really good. It's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, perhaps The Road was about an EMP. They never tell you what the event was. That just everything is knocked out. And once it gets knocked out, it'll stay out. Some of these reactors that we have, not reactors, but amplifiers, transmitters, what do you call those things on the poles? The transformers. These are mega transformers. You see them as you travel. There's about a dozen in America that are linked. And they take a year or more to build under normal conditions. So once they're fried, and even your local telephone pole transformer is fried, and the wire that carries the pulse from the phone pole to your house, which could fry everything electronic in your house, unless you got a very sophisticated EMP breaker. And when that happens, it could start a fire in your house and everybody else's house. Because at the end of the wire, it sparks, all right? It sets off a spark, which could ignite something. That's what happened in 1859, when there was a coronal mass ejection from the sun, equal to an EMP, that hit the Earth. And it was called the Carrington event. Some scientists figured out what just happened. But when it hit the Earth, it followed the wires from the internet that we had at the time, which was called what? The telegraph offices. And the wires would carry that transmission, a very long wave magnetic pulse with millions of volts. And it would stop at the transmitter, at the telegraph office. And where it stopped, it would spark and it would start a fire. There was a lot of fires. There were also fires in farmers' fields where there were wood posts and barbed wire. The barbed wire would pick up the same signal. It would go as far as it could. And then where it ended, the wire ended, it would spark and start the pole to catch on fire and the surroundings to catch on fire. So even your own house is not protected. Everything we know and cherish could burn from one EMP. It's the most
You know what you're describing, the movie was called Into the Forest. I found it. And I didn't realize I had seen a movie about an EMP. It's exactly what it is. And it went down and the movie doesn't feel sensationalized at all. It's very slowly paced. It unfolds step by step, really in exactly the manner that that you're describing. Wow, it's a lot to think about.
Look, I'm not here to scare you.
I'm not scared. I'm ready for the zombie apocalypse. I'm not ready.
People in your audience may, oh, he's just Mr. Doomsday, just capitalizing on people's fears.
No, they'll be cool. They'll all be cool with it.
I'm not capitalizing. I'm not making any money at this. I made more money.
That's actually the last question I wanted to ask you. I had two last questions. I'm sorry. And because I don't want, you've been so generous with your time, man. And I would like to talk with you again, if that's all right. And invite you to that call I told you about as well.
Yeah.
Here's one question, and I'm guessing this is probably private, but South Dakota, what did that cost you to build that place? Do you mind sharing that, or is that not for public consumption?
No, it's okay. I originally leased it from the ranchers for 99 years. Okay. And they owned it, and they had these bunkers. They didn't know what to do with them. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I think I overpaid. Some people say I'm a good negotiator. I don't know. I paid them $1 up front.
Okay. All right.
And the piece of the action thereafter. Okay. Well, one of them bailed, and so I now only had, of the partnership, I only had one guy to deal with. And then he got in trouble because the ranching business isn't doing too well. And his bank started looking for money on his chattel mortgage on everything. So he had to come up with some money. So he said, do you want to buy it? He originally wanted $25 million for this property. I asked him what he was smoking, you know, and because maybe we can grow some of that stuff here. And over 3 years that we were together working under the original agreement, his price dropped to 12 million, then 10, then 8, then 6. And, you know, he demanded 6. And I said, well, I'll pay you what it's worth. So let's go get some comps, you know, comparable sales. And we did. Mm-hmm. And the best we could come up with was 2.6 million. And he said, no, I'm never going to sell it for that. Well, anyways, I bought it last spring for 2.6 million.
But you probably put a ton of money into it also, I would imagine.
Not that much. But it's going to be a 100 million plus project, as is the big one I told you about, 3 million square feet. Our network is going to be a multi-billion-dollar network if you had to build it from scratch. And we will build that given enough time to do so. But we're always prepared that time could be up tomorrow, and that's it. We did as best.
And between now and then, is this a viable bit? Like I know you're very, very successful in the business world. Is this business itself, Vivos? Are you making money from this? Is it profitable?
Well, I don't know. I grew up in a Jewish neighborhood when I was a kid. And if you ask a Jewish businessman, I hate to be racist, but you know,
I'm Jewish, by the way, before you say anything. I'm not religious, I'm not nationalistic, but I am of Jewish heritage.
All right, good. My son is quarter Jewish, my wife's half. But anyways, you ask a Jewish guy how's business, and they're gonna go, you know, it could be better. You know, they're never going to admit to making a profit. That's all I'm saying.
I figured that's where you were going, but I wanted to ask anyway.
Let me say this. We work on a very narrow margin.
Yeah.
Right? I've never brought in a partner. I would love to have a worthy partner that sees this for what it is, both a great business opportunity as time goes on, but also, I mean, you got a captive audience for 100 years, you know, tenants. And, but... and a very low cost of sale. But on the other side of the coin, they may see it as a humanitarian effort. So instead of building another hospital or with their name on it or something, this is the ultimate philanthropist thing to do.
That's how I see it. Absolutely. Yeah, without question.
And that's my mission. I'm doing good. I haven't bought anything really substantially new since I started, but I have a 6,000 square foot Tuscan villa in on the ocean in San Diego.
Del Mar is a great area, man. It's beautiful.
Airplane. I got everything. You know, I don't need to do this, but I have to, and I can't walk away from it. I'm stuck for the rest of my life.
Oh, that's a life's mission you're on there, man. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I do welcome that kind of partner if they ever come along. But in the meantime, you know, you don't wait, you just do it. And I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I've employed thousands of people. I've never worked for anybody. All right. So self-made twice over. I've gone through, you know, the high and the low and back to the high again. And it just takes a lot of tenacity. You know, your show is tough, whatever. I am.
Talking tough, yes.
I don't just talk tough. I am tough. And what I mean by that is I don't take shit from anybody. Okay? I don't have to. I command respect, 6'8", 310 pounds. But I never use it. I've never been in a fight in my life, you know, ever. And when I was a kid, I was 165 pounds and 6'8". So I was vulnerable. But all of a sudden, you know, and so, you know, I think it takes a big personality, a big persona to step into these shoes to do this kind of a job.
Oh,
You
God,
know?
yeah. Yes,
Media
for sure.
teams, I've had every network, they come to my home and that blows them away. It's a palace. And then they meet me and they go, oh, you know, and there's so much in the package. I don't have to promote it. I don't have to, what do you call it? Pimp it. It's just there. And gratefully so. I don't know why I got that original message. I did not have the funds. I had good business, but I didn't have funds to do this. I didn't know how to do it. I wasn't an engineer. I wasn't interested in any of this crap, Doomsday, whatever, Nibiru, 2012, all that stuff. I could care less. It was so fun. I was into bars, you know, and you know, people asked me what I did. My answer was, I guess this is a mature audience. My answer was blondes, you know.
That's okay
so,
here. That's all right here.
Right. So, meaning, just a wise guy. We joke like crazy then and now. But anyways, you know, because if you don't, you're not going to survive life. You know, you got to take it lighthearted. But I can tell you that even though I wasn't then, I now realize it was why I was chosen to do it, because I developed the skills over the last 30 years, from real estate to development to finance to engineering, technical, marketing, everything to the degree, finance and so on, that I now not only can do it, but I have. And the proof is in the pudding. Had I used a lot of experts, a lot of consultants, I'd have been broke long ago. One of the things I found is I don't pay for the same legal advice twice. So you got to listen very carefully when you hire an attorney and have a contract drafted, and then make that contract yours. And it's a boilerplate. And so there's just, you know, between attorneys, I mean, there's one thing I use very sacredly, and that's CPAs to stay kosher. But you know, beyond that, I'm lean and mean. We use a lot of independent contractors. I try to keep my payroll down as low as possible, and the team as low as possible. Bring in the experts when and where needed, wherever in the world. And you know, employment laws in California. You know, somebody from Paychecks, a salesperson, I said, I don't want employees, not in California. And they said, you know what? You're absolutely right. You know, this woman told her husband, you're not starting a business in California. You're not going to have employees because of, you know, the regs here. It's crazy. So, you know,
it's expensive to have employees in California. I know. Yes.
You come last, not first. Okay.
Yes, but my brother, who's right down the road from you in Irvine, has 65 employees, so I know the trials well. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, when I last had a business of 100 plus, my day was a psychologist. They would line up outside my door, and one after the other, they would just come in. Okay, next, and I would listen to their problem, and I have to give them a pep talk or whatever it is, or straighten them out. And they'd leave. Next. And I noticed and I realized, what the hell is this? It's not why I'm in business. This is not what I'm here to do. And so, you know, you got to rise way above it. Get your head way above the clouds. And that's where the tough guy comes in. Because if you know, I knew when I put my head up on this, stuck my neck out, it was going to be chopped. that I was going to have naysayers, name callers, you name it. And, I've been in front of the biggest media in the world and with the most trite questions. I'll tell you, PBS had me on a satellite radio broadcast. They were in San Fran, I was in San Diego, and in a studio. And this little, certainly liberal girl tried, I knew it was going to be a gotcha. So anyway, she says, well, aren't you kind of like a modern day Noah? And I said, no, I don't aspire to be Noah, but I do know this. This shit's going to happen. And I had never said that before. The sound guy in the room is going, oh my God, wow, you got it. Then a few minutes later, she said, threw me another gotcha. She goes, well, you're kind of like a modern day prophet. And I said, no, I'm a not-for-profit. I'm not making any money at this. And so you have to be extremely quick when you're dealing with media and those were all impromptu. I was on a satellite call to Italy. I was a guest on their #1 Sunday night show. I guess it was some kind of variety show. And the whole country watched it. And I had it was 8 o'clock in the morning Sunday here, and it was 8 at night there. And all of a sudden my phone rang. It was in my pocket. And I just ignored it. Then it rang again. I had forgotten to turn it off. I tried to muzzle it, but it kept ringing. So third time I said, excuse me. I pulled it out and I held it up high and I said, oh, it's the Popa. He's calling to get into Vivos. And they all cracked up.
That's fantastic. Yep.
You got to be quick. The other one that I do love a lot is when, they say, well, aren't you capitalizing on people's fears? And I said, you mean the fears that you create every segment?
Well, and the thing is, I don't get that from you at all. And regardless, I mean, you don't come across that way at all. And I see it's not in your business model. I see you're not trying to sell. So kind of a moot question, regardless, I would say.
But we're not capitalizing on people's fears. And I always turn it around. And I said, you mean the fears that you create and you capitalize on when you cut to commercial? I don't cut to commercial. You're assuming I'm making money, and I'm not. I've invested more into Vivos than I'm taking out. And then I said to one guy, but what is it that bothers you? Is the idea of survival or shelters? A bad word. They're not bad words. They're not 4-letter words. And he goes, no, I guess not. So you got to be super quick with these guys. You got to be ahead of them. And succinct, and you better know, be confident in who you are and what you got. And I am.
Well, and, Robert, I think we have some of the most fascinating people in the world on this show, and I don't think I've ever. I can't imagine doing something more fascinating than what you're doing. I personally would love to learn more about it. Hope I have the opportunity to visit one of your locations or more. I'll certainly be in touch offline on what we discussed earlier.
Anytime, bring your buds, bring your group, or just bring yourself and your producers. You can broadcast from Vivos. All right, we'll set up a little broadcast area for you in South Dakota, and that'll be a great show. And we could surround you with members, dozens of members that are there.
That's really cool. And we should get let's get Governor Christie there also.
Well, everybody wants to get her there, but not for the same reasons.
On that note, my friend, I will let you go. I'm going to be in touch soon. Man, really, really good to meet you. I appreciate your time. And fascinating. I can't find a better word. Thank you, Robert.
Well, I hope I lived up to your tough guy standard.
With that and beyond, my friend.
Good. All right. You be good and stay safe, and your entire audience, please. All right.
Apps. Thank you so much, Robert. Very much appreciated. Good night.
All right. Bye-bye.
And folks, normally we would I would ask John and Rachel to come on. I really want to talk to them about this, but and this is more information than anybody needs. I've got to go to the boys' room, and I got to feed my dogs. John and Rachel, if you're there, and it's cool, I'd like to give you guys a call in a few minutes because I actually would like to get your impressions on this. Everybody out there, thank you. That was Robert Vicino from Vivos. It's VIVOS.com. I tripped across it somewhat by accident not long ago and ended up down the proverbial rabbit's hole. I'm trying to sort through it myself and what it all means, and to kind of get I'm curious my own viewpoint on it is. I'm not even sure yet. I'm sure you have one. We'd love to hear from you. Check us out, please, at talking-tough.com. You can always write through the site. Hope to hear from you. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much to our producers, Rachel Sartoris on the western half of the U.S., John Paz on the eastern, the two places that are getting nailed first. We understand. Anyway, good night, everybody. Thanks, Rachel. Thanks, John. See you all soon.